down to earth. Do you remember? Why have we taken birth? Do you remember?
Great. Well, the topic today is the joy of letting go, obviously. And so I invite you into this experiment. If everyone would please pick up your program. Does anybody need a program? Amy will bring you one if you need one. Okay, everybody has their program. What you're going to experience today is the realization of the difference between holding on to something that can be uncomfortable and letting go of it. And so your instructions are to hold on to this until dinner tonight. Now, you might not be able to do that truthfully. I mean, because the next song that Brad plays, you're going to want to clap. Or during this talk, you may want to go to the restroom, and that would really be uncomfortable. Or driving home, it might be uncomfortable. But, you know, this is what we do. We hold on to things, and we carry them around, and they're uncomfortable, and we don't let them go. And it's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But do you know something else? In 1,000 years, your soul is still going to be in the present moment, like we're in the present moment now. When we die, our soul is going to keep on going. And in 1,000 years, you're still going to be in the present moment. Will you still be hanging on? In 100 years, you're going to be in the present moment. Tomorrow afternoon, you're going to be in the present moment. The truth is, the present moment is all we have in a world that's constantly changing. Everything is changing all around us. And so when we step away from the present moment, we get caught in, somebody did me wrong. Good old country songs. We get caught in judgment. We get caught in a boss that was rude to you at some point. We get caught in a teenager that isn't doing life the way you think they should, and there's a few million of those. But we also get caught in what we thought we should have done. Different, better, whatever. You know, relationships end, things break, and pets die. And when we hold on, we're missing the whole point of this life. You know, in World War II, after World War II, it was the 50s and the 60s, and everybody had more money, and factories were pumping out all kinds of unique things to buy. I remember our first television set. It was a 9-inch square screen, and the only place that would work in our living room was turned towards the wall, about a foot away from the wall. So we're all back at the wall watching this magical thing called TV. It was just an amazing thing. And then, of course, I remember taking my first airplane ride. Well, that wasn't new, but it was new to me. And then I remember my first clock radio, and then the first digital radio. There's all these things that became new as we accumulated the latest. More, better, different. You got that? Oh, I want that too. And so we became a community, a country focused on accumulating things. And then we get tired of it and we accumulate more things. That's what catalogs are for. That's what advertising is for. You know, Paul pointed out to me recently that a lot of the advertising is very seductive because there's this glamorous person doing glamorous things, and it goes to, you should buy this dog food. Do you notice it? I mean, it's so seductive. You think, if I buy that dog food, I'm gonna feel glamorous. It's just an amazing thing. It's very, very seductive. It's so easy to satisfy the ego's need to be part of what's happening now. The ego's need. Because the ego loves new stuff. Ask Paul. Well, no, ask me about Paul. He loves electronics. He used to love cars, and that was really frustrating because he'd get an oil change and come home with a new car. Several times. I was at the post office one day, and this gold Cadillac pulls up, and I go, God, what a beautiful car. What's Paul driving that car for? Honest to God, it was just, he just had to do it now. He has lots of money, so that's okay. But it was nice sitting in that car. Did I need to have that car? No, I like my truck. I like my truck. I can get my arms wrapped around that truck. And so last Saturday, he's been after me to clean out my closet. And I have a lot of things I love in my closet that I haven't worn for 5 years. Anybody have? Yeah. So he said, please, the women's refuge, let's give it to the women's refuge. Okay, I'm ready to let go. And so I'm pulling stuff out, and he's packing it up, and he's happy, and I'm happy. And then he says, now, can I go in and take the things I don't like to see you wearing? I'm practicing what I'm writing this talk about. I'm letting go, of course, dear. And out comes this black and white blouse. I said, you don't like that? And he says, I do. I'm like, yeah, you do. Put it back. And then there was another top. I said, the last time I wore that, you said you liked that on me. He said, I did? Yeah, okay, that went back. So we had this little tussle going on. So this next week, my question to him is, how many fishing poles do you really need? Because we have got poles from Alaska that was 25 years ago stacked up in the garage. Now, really, how many fishing poles do we need? And he's got 6 others in the other garage. So we'll see where that goes. Because we actually have his steelhead fish. It was a record fish for Anchorage, Alaska, and he had it mounted, and it's still in the garage. It looks about that old too, but it's a trophy fish, and we have it in the garage because it's so old and ugly. I mean, you wouldn't want it anywhere else, but we got her, you know. We're holding on. We're holding on. I will never ask him to get rid of that fish. Obviously, it's part of, you know, his life, part of what he did, what he accomplished. So there's a new addiction going on, and it's called FOMS, F-O-M-S, the fear of missing something. Because we have 24-hour newscasts, we've got iPods, we've got cameras, we got Facebook, Twitter, all this, and I was hearing about a teenager the other morning that doesn't get out of bed until he has checked all email, Facebook, Twitter, till he's checked in with his friends to see who's doing what in the morning, and then he gets out of bed. Fear of missing something. We watch the news, fear of missing something. We take 6 magazines, fear of missing something. And it can become an addiction, where if we just let go and went out and said, good God, what a day, what a beautiful day, and looked at the sunshine and just had a cup of coffee and heard the spring birds sing, wouldn't we start our day out well? But we get addicted. We get addicted to holding on. We had some company a couple weeks ago, and he's addicted to his iPad, and a big square thing that goes beep when he gets a message. And it's always there. And we're in Reading, right? And it goes beep, and it goes, oh, the Bay Bridge is closed. I'm like, okay. I'll be darned. Addicted to news, addicted to missing something. That's interesting. And so what's really happening with our lives here is wherever you've been, you're in this room today, and there's no fear. No one's going to hurt you. You're in the present moment, the present moment. And the nice thing about being in the present moment is the truth is our souls are on our journeys, our individual journeys, and 1,000 years will be someplace, other dimension doing things. But we're intersecting today. You and I are intersecting our lives today to learn how joyous it is just to be together and in our mind let go of some of these things we've been carrying around that make life challenging. Now, there's a couple other ways of being generous in the world. It's kind of like I did last weekend. I was generous in giving clothes away that I didn't need for many years, but giving clothes away that I didn't need. But then there's another level of generosity, and Shoes for Souls is one of those. I cannot tell you the joy people are getting from those shoes. And it's giving something away that takes some effort, but it's fun. It's really fun. The Living Hope Ministry here in town, their goal is to help homeless people start making decisions in their lives. If they want a pair of shoes from our program, they have to ask for it and ask for their size and what they want. And we had a list the other day of at least 24 pair of shoes by men's, women's, by size, and Christine Trustman and I were digging through all our shoes, and we could fill all of them except a couple. One was open-toed heels so I can go on a job interview. Couldn't find that one. So Reverend Sharon happened to come in, and I said, we've got all of them but this, and she went home and she got a pair out of her closet and brought it over. But you cannot imagine the joy people are feeling from you willing to let go of some shoes. Bigger sizes and smaller sizes are always needed, but the joy we're bringing to the world is palpable. But we're also able to let go of those people who are homeless and helpless because they're asking for things that they need to get on with their life, which is really great. And the third way of being generous with other people is giving up something that's very prized, that you prize. And I'll tell you what that is for me, and it's my time. When I'm giving up my time for something. My time is very precious because I have a million things I want to do. And sometimes just sitting in the afternoon with Paul and playing cards is where my time needs to be. But there's these other things I hold on to, but I'm not doing this, but I'm not doing that. You know, let it go. Let it go. The other thing that is so important is to give ourselves time to love ourselves. Because we are busy. We're busy making sure we don't miss anything, but we're also busy with children, with family, with jobs, with looking for jobs, or being in a job maybe it's not very thrilling. So it's important to love ourselves more, to give ourselves more time, because that's how we rejuvenate. I know Sue and Charlie were in Vancouver this whole week for our conference of Centers for Spiritual Living, and people came from all over the world, and it was really wonderful, and it was rejuvenating. But Sue said she had on her mind, yes, I'm Sue Miller-Boyne, and I'm from Reading looking for a new minister. It was just like keeping it out there. And so it was also a lot of fun at the same time for her. You know, some people like Bill and Melinda Gates, they give their time, which I think is very precious, but they give their money, which is very precious, to help the health and well-being and education of people around the world. What kind of great gift is that? Their time, rich people's time. It's awesome. Now, we don't have their money, but we do have things that are important and valuable, and it's your time. It's also your wisdom, and it's also your character. Because anybody that studies this teaching has a gift to give in character. We are the most positive, loving people in the world. And that is a gift we can give. I was going through my library at home, and I did give some books away at the book sale, so I could buy some more. But that's one of the challenges, letting go. So I was going through my library at home, and I pulled out a few books that I thought I might shed some light on this idea of the joy of letting go. And the one book was called Jesus CEO, Jesus Chief Executive Officer. It's a really cute book. And every chapter is something that he did that a good CEO would do. And it's just delightful. And so one of the things he did was when one of his disciples betrayed him, he didn't go around crying and whining. He didn't hold on to the way it used to be. He just looked at it and kept on going. Now, what a lesson that is. No one can keep you down unless you decide to stay down. Keep on going. You know, betrayals are part of life. And when I read that in that article, in that section, I thought, I hate that word, betrayal, because it seems very harsh. But really, betrayals are lessons for us not to hold on to that. Sometimes a betrayal can be a family member that didn't do what they said they would do, or someone that lied to us, or, sometimes teenagers don't end up like we wanted them to end up. And the point is, that's teaching us to let go of our expectations of other people. And that's a real big one. It's a real big one for a lot of people. Now, you probably have seen some of the Indiana Jones movies. I love Indiana Jones. I will watch those time and time again because they're very exciting and you never know what's going to happen next. But maybe you saw this one where Indiana Jones and his dad were hunting for the Holy Grail, and they had these outrageous adventures, just outrageous. And finally they get to this cave and there's this precipice, and Indiana Jones sees the Holy Grail and he's like right on the edge, and he's like, and his dad says, Indiana, let it go. Because he knows if he goes for that grail, he's going to fall off the cliff. He's going to die in this big pit. Indiana, let it go. And Indiana's like, what? What? I'm just about there. Indiana, let it go. And he does, and he steps back. A little further on in the movie, he recognizes that this whole adventure has been about his time with his dad, not about the Holy Grail. And so I invite you, when you're working so hard to get something done and it just doesn't seem to be going right, let it go. Now, you may not hear Indiana, let it go, but let it go. Let it go. And see what other prize is there for you. Another book I pulled off the shelf is The 40-Day Soul Feast, Mind Feast by Michael Beckwith. Wonderful, wonderful little book. And on day 8, the title of this one is Action Within Inaction. And it's the story of Mary and Martha. When Jesus was coming to Mary's house to give his teaching, Mary decided to come in and be with all the other people that were there. But Martha decided she had to keep cleaning and making food, and she was busy in the kitchen, and she got really ticked off. I just put my program down. Sorry about that. So Martha comes out to Jesus and says, hey, I'm here doing all the work, and my sister is doing nothing. And here's what Jesus said, Martha, you're worried and distracted by many things, but there is need of only one thing, and Mary has made the better choice. So what does that tell you? Expand your spiritual realization and let go of the shoulds. Let go of the things that you think you should be doing when the joy in this world is your spiritual uplifting realization of your oneness. And don't cling to what you think is right. Oh, how we get about cleaning house. Sometimes running the vacuum is the worst time when all the they shoulda, I shoulda comes up. It's that space that it's really important to let go and just know you're cleaning God's house. Well, one of my favorite authors since I found this center is Ram Dass, great spiritual teacher, and I love his escapades in India. He's just a really great guy, and he wrote a book called Paths to God. And he writes about the various ways we get caught. Our ego mind gets caught in a trap. And for him, it's, I'm so spiritual. I meditate, I'm spiritual. And so he talks about all these relationships he has with people, places, and things, and how his ego, time after time, bless his heart, he reveals he got caught. One time he said, I wore these sandals from an ashram because it was so spiritual. And he realized spirituality doesn't have anything to do with sandals. And then another time he was a vegetarian for a while and gave that up when he was in a restaurant eating chicken, and a fellow came over to him and said, who are you? And he said, oh, I'm Ram Dass. And he says, and I'm eating chicken. Why did I think that was, anyway, you can tell where that was going. But whether it's food, clothes, cars, whether it's sandals, the ego gets trapped in these things, and we think, oh, I'm this, oh, I'm that. He got trapped one time in being the good guy, the good spiritual guy, And you can see this in your mind. A family calls and says, our mother is dying, and her last wish is to have Ram Dass come and see her. So he goes, and he goes in the door. I'm here. Ram Dass is here. Oh, come into the bedroom. He goes into the bedroom, and he sits on the bed, and I'm Ram Dass, I'm so happy to be here. And he goes on a jabber, jabber. And the lady's laying there, and he finally realizes, I've been talking 10 minutes, and she hasn't said a word. And he's going, oh, I got caught. So he finally shut up, and he looked at her, and she smiled at him, and he smiled at her, and they started laughing hysterically. And that was it. That was what she was wanting. She wanted him, not what he thought he needed to be. Can you just see that? I mean, to sit with Ram Dass and just laugh, it would just be pure bliss. But we walk this path, and it's fraught with frustrations, and there's contradictions, and yet when there's all those things happening, we're missing the reveling in the love of God, who's the one that created this experience for us. We're missing that point. And yet sometimes people think, well, you need to, you need to renunciate something because all these things that you have they're nothing. Well, you worked hard for them. I remember in my 20s and 30s, I was working very hard. I was building my career, and all these great things were coming out, like flat screen TVs and all these different things, and you wanted them, and you were working hard, and you felt you deserved them. And then at some point in the spiritual walk, you go, man, am I really attached to that? And so you pause for a while, and you wear the same shoes for months on end, on Sundays only, and you just kind of settle back and realize it's all just one thing going on here. And after that, you evolve even further to enjoy everything that you have and know it's all impermanent, but you can enjoy every bit of it. So it's an interesting evolution on this path of life. There's another book I have, it's called To See Differently, and it's all about attitudinal healing principles, written by Susan Trout, and I wanted to read this one to you because I hope it sheds some light on this topic. It was written by Helen Malacote. I was regretting the past and fearing the future when suddenly the Lord was speaking. My name is I Am. He paused, I waited, and then he continued. When you live in the past with its mistakes and regrets, it's hard. I'm not there. My name is not I was. When you live in the future with its problems and fears, it's hard. I'm not there. My name is not I will be. When you live in the moment, it's not hard because I am here and my name is I am. Isn't that beautiful? Not in the future. So in the science of mind, I always love to go back to Ernest after I've cruised through my library because this is the greatest wisdom I've ever come across. He says the future, which is tomorrow and the next day, is being made right now, today. Your thoughts, your beliefs today, your actions today are the energy that creates your experience in the future. So when we understand that we're thinking about peace in the future, we have to be peaceful today. That's how we get peaceful in the future. So it's a really good thing to consider when we're kind of uptight about someone, something, or the news or whatever. Am I setting an energy field for my future that I'm not going to like any more than I like the present moment? It's a really good thing to think about. Because the key for Ernest Holmes is stop believing in duality. Stop believing that there's God and the devil or God and some other energy form that's jerking our chain. Stop believing in that because there is only one. On page 502, he writes, the person who feels, let me go to 233 first. If one would take time at least once a day to let go of all that is not true and hold on to reality. Let go of doubt, distrust, let go of condemnation, and hold life in its full expression of beauty and truth and love. All mental congestion would disappear. It would just disappear. And then on page 502, which is the reading that Roy offered you, the person who feels their mistakes can be blotted out is in a better psychological position than one who thinks God will not forgive you. Nothing is gained by holding on to past errors. It is scientific to consciously let go of our troubles, and it's most unwise not to. Some people say we should suffer, but we've already done so. And we will continue to do so until the last farthing is paid. But the last farthing, that's the point when we let go and trust in the law of good. So if you haven't put down your program yet, you're free to do so. Feels good? Do not let a thought of duality shift your focus away from the present moment, from the glory of each day, and from the love of God that is all-encompassing in you. And I'd like to leave you with a quote by Richard Bach. If you know Richard Bach, he's always really good. The mark of our ignorance is the depth of our belief in injustice and tragedy. Duality. That's the mark of our ignorance is the depth of our belief in justice and tragedy. Because what the caterpillar calls the end of the world, we call a butterfly. That's the joy of letting go. So join me in a treatment for this. In this moment, I feel the presence and the power of Spirit, knowing that it is this infinite intelligence that has created every person in this room and in the world. And each person is on target in their spiritual evolution. Each person is opening in their own way to the truth of God's love. I accept for everyone here this morning the joy of letting go of whatever is taking you away from that knowing. Because there's only one thing going on here, the evolution of our soul. And this morning it is beautiful, it is powerful, it is joyful, and it is the truth about each of us. I give such great thanks for this teaching and the teachings of so many people in the world who are coming together and intersecting with our lives at this time. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So I release and know all is well. All is well with your life, my life, and the world. It's on purpose. It's on target. And so it is.
Love.